Hello, welcome to True's True Crime Corner. I hope you're having an absolutely amazing day, night, whatever time it is for you. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed today's case. It's an interesting one, to say the least. It's about Trey Sessler. If you don't know who that is, that would be Mr. Anime. To begin with, there was a lot of fascination with Trey's case, like a lot, because he was a YouTuber. So everyone was like, what? Trey was a YouTuber by the name of Mr. Anime, but I do believe he went by a different name back then. This case is just crazy though, because he was very, very popular. Like, he was pretty freaking popular back then. He was doing like anime reviews and a couple other stuff, but he was popular. It's just crazy, YouTuber turned killer. What the fuck? Trey joined YouTube back in 2006, basically the really early days of YouTube. He was pretty popular and really big in the anime community, like making reaction videos and putting people on good animes. He gained a very good reputation pretty quickly. But there was a darker side to Trey's videos that was starting to slowly show up. Throughout his videos, you can slowly watch his downfall. Like, his mental state just gets worse and worse, and you can see it throughout the videos. His state of mind is not very stable or good. Let's just put it that way. And it just kept going downhill, getting worse and worse until the tragic events of this case. Trey was born on the 3rd of August, 1989, making him a Leo. Okay. He lived in Walla, Texas with his mother Rhonda and father Lawton. He also had an older brother named Mark, who was 4 years older than him. Trey had a pretty normal childhood. His parents were in a stable marriage. His childhood was all out normal, like from what you could say a normal life is. Different from a lot of other kids. He didn't have that bad upbringing that most serial killers or just killers in general have. He didn't have that. There was at least nothing out of the ordinary that I personally could find. Lawton was a teacher at a local elementary school there in Walla, Texas, and Rhonda worked at the local newspaper station, just being a newsie. Just a all-out comfortable life. Just comfortable. Normal. They would do basically anything for Trey. They'd provide him with everything, which was normal, saying as they're his parents. In school, Trey had a pretty normal experience as well. Like, there wasn't any hardcore bullying or anything like that I could find. At least, that I could find. He wasn't popular, but wasn't a loner either in middle school. He had plenty of friends. He played the trombone in the school band, and he also joined the Digital Video Club. He always had an interest in video making, but that's pretty obvious. I think we all know that. Trey's life so far was normal, nothing out of the ordinary, like nothing bad that would, make us think that it would cause what he did. When he was 13, there was a small hiccup, if you will. It was a bit extreme, but it's pretty normal to rebel as a kid. At least in my opinion. I rebelled as a kid. I think everyone did. Trey's little hiccup was a bit more extreme than most, though. Like, extreme. When he was 13, yeah, no. Not with what I was going to be saying. That's not normal. This is not normal. Never mind. At 13, he decided that he wanted to shoot his friend. Yeah, not normal. So I guess kind of scratch what I said about kids rebelling. He had decided to shoot his friend. I'm not sure why he had decided to shoot his friend, if there was an argument that happened, if he had decided, or if his friend had started being mean to him, or what was going on, but he had decided to shoot his friend. His whole thought process about it, though, was, I'm 13, I need a gun, I don't have a gun. So he came up with a plan to get a gun. It, credit, was not the smartest plan, because he is only 13. He decides that he's going to steal a gun from a police officer.
Bombastic side-eye.
Trey. What? To get the gun, he decided to call 911 and complain of a suspicious shadow outside of his house. They thought since he was 13, they should definitely go and check up on, the suspicious shadow because he's 13. Obviously, you're gonna go fucking check up on a 13-year-old kid. His master plan was to call the police, and then complain about the suspicious shadow, and then run off and hide in the woodland area around his house and just kind of sit there and wait for the police officer to arrive. Then, when the officer did arrive, his plan was to jump out of whatever he was hiding behind and attack the police officer with his baseball bat that he owned, which would allow him to get the gun. But, this obviously didn't happen. The plan didn't work out, and I'm not really sure how far he got into it because the police officer did eventually find out what he was planning. The police officer did arrive at the house, but like I said, he did find out what Trey was planning. He was ordered to see a psychiatrist after that. I think it was by the judge, by a judge. I'm not sure if it was ordered by a judge or the police officer himself, but he was ordered to go see a psychiatrist, which valid? Brother needs help. They wanted him to go see a psychiatrist for an assessment, go get checked out to see if there was anything out of the ordinary that was going on in his head. This was his first trouble with the law as far as I could find, though. Officers said that they wouldn't press charges on him as long as he went to go see the psychiatrist, and Trey did go see the psychiatrist for a bit. He did go to the psychiatrist, and nothing really came of it. This assessment came back normal. They didn't find anything abnormal. Anyways, like I was saying, we can all go through a rebellious stage, but this was not normal. It was definitely a very extreme case of rebellion. Like, this is extreme, brother. What? This was, at least in my opinion, the first red flag that showed up. We're gonna go ahead and jump ahead to when he's 17 because nothing really happened between those 4 years. Nothing. There's really, at least nothing that I could find. Nothing was relevant. He kind of just carried on his normal life, just carried on as normal. It's 2006 now. Trey's 17 and just started his YouTube channel. I think his first YouTube name was LensCap Productions, but I'm not too sure. I couldn't really find full information on that. He didn't start off as Mr. Anime, but he eventually did change his name to Mr. Anime. He would upload random videos, like random skits, home videos, just basically random shit, like movie short films and stuff like that. He'd do whatever he wanted.
Hey, hand me my water over there. Okay. There you go.
This was basically what YouTube was like, though, back then. It was very random. There really wasn't any coordination to the videos or anything like that. YouTube hadn't had itself fully figured out. But there was a small running theme in Trey's videos that was slightly concerning, to say the least. That would be guns and violence. Because he totally needs that in his life, after fucking thinking that he wanted to shoot his friend. What? Guns and violence were featured a lot in his videos, like a lot. A lot, like a concerning amount. It became very clear that guns and violence were a huge interest of Trey's. He would actually cast some of his friends and also his brother Mark to act in some of his videos that he uploaded. Trey was uploading the skits and short films for about a year. Then, in 2007, he found a new focus for his channel, and he became Mr. Anime. It really seemed like he had found his style for videos. He was really good at what he was now doing, which was reviewing anime.
Welcome to today's episode, which just so happens to be episode 2. Today we're going to be reviewing a show that had a very large impact on audiences all around the world.
He quickly became one of the most popular anime reviewers that there was out there. He was known for being honest, like very honest, straightforward, and blunt. And I'm not really entirely sure, but I think that that in itself was something entirely new to the anime community. He's even been credited for being a kickstart to the anime YouTube community. Apparently, he inspired some of the biggest names in the anime community today. That's crazy. He could have easily been a top creator today if he didn't do what he did. Trey graduated from high school in 2007. He did attend college, but that didn't last very long. Don't blame him. School sucks. He only took one course, and that was in criminology.
Criminal offensive side eye.
Okay. I'm not really sure if he completed that course, but he eventually did drop out of college. He worked a lot of odd jobs. He'd deliver pizzas, and he also worked in a grocery store as a clerk. But he couldn't really keep a job down. Literally, he'd get fired pretty easily. The longest job he ever had was being Mr. Anime on YouTube, and for a while he wasn't making any money off of that at all. You couldn't monetize your videos yet, and I'm not really sure when you were able to start monetizing your videos, but back then you definitely couldn't monetize them yet. Most likely wasn't paid for most of his videos. I'm not really sure where he got most of his money, but I do know for a fact that his parents were definitely helping him at least a little bit. His parents stepped in and really helped him with money. The reason he couldn't hold down a job is because of his history of drug and alcohol abuse. Makes sense. He also abused prescription drugs like OxyContin. He was prescribed drugs for bipolar and schizophrenia, but I couldn't find anything that said that he was diagnosed with bipolar and schizophrenia, so drugs do sometimes treat multiple things though, so you never know. It really seemed like Trey's psychiatrist would kind of just prescribe him anything, they were just kind of tossing prescriptions at him, willing. He'd be prescribed something for a week, then go back to the psychiatrist and say that it wasn't working. The psychiatrist would quickly just write him a new prescription and send him on his way, which that's pretty freaking ridiculous. What are you doing? Basically, Trey was consuming a lot of drugs, and he was drinking on top of taking all those meds. So together, that's not a good mix at all, brother. What are you doing? He had a really bad lifestyle. There was a lot of tension in his family. Trey's father, Lawton, would often complain about Trey's drug and alcohol use, obviously trying to get him to either cut back or stop altogether because Trey wasn't doing anything with his life. He had dropped out of college, and it didn't really seem like he had any plans on getting a good job. He wanted his son to do better for himself, just have a better life. But his father talking to him about this stuff would really get under his skin. They still tried to get him on the right path, though. They really tried, but it didn't work. They had bought him a new car and let him live in his past grandmother's house in hopes that this would give him the motivation to get on his feet and get a job and start living a normal life. But it did not motivate him to change at all. In fact, he got worse, and he would often get speeding tickets in that brand new car that they had bought him. Not to mention, his parents would pay those tickets. Trey living alone in his grandma's house just gave him more freedom to basically do whatever the fuck he wanted. There was no one there to tell him what he could and couldn't do, so he did whatever he wanted, which what he wanted was to do more drugs and alcohol. So he did that. He didn't have anyone to judge him or stop him from, indulging in his abusive behaviors. It also gave him the ability to indulge more into one of his favorite hobbies, which was guns and violence. Yay! It was quite literally an understatement to say that Trey was obsessed with guns. He would buy and sell a shit ton of guns, owned a lot of guns and different types of guns. At one point, he had 16 different kinds of guns. That's insane. What the fuck? Trey's life was slowly heading for a downward spiral, and it was slowly becoming more and more obvious on YouTube as well.
I'm Mr. Anime. I don't really have a show for you. Oh, how you doing, everyone? It's Mr. Anime. Or you can call me Trey. You can call me the guy that does the video game reviews. You can call me the guy that does all the gun stuff now.
You could see his content growing darker and darker by the day. He was slowly becoming more and more erratic as well. He wasn't as put together as he would be in his old videos. He was once coherent and well put together, but now you could barely understand what he was saying in his videos. He was very all over the place. He wasn't in one area, like mentally. He was everywhere. You couldn't really understand the point of his videos either. Like, slowly became more and more lost on you what the point of his video was. Aside from his gun fascination, he became particularly interested in murder, particularly school shootings.
Every day I open Yahoo, I'm like, well, time to see what today's shooting is.
He also had an interest in serial killers, but it wasn't an interest like you or I have. It was like, I don't even know the words to use because brother was like obsessed. He wanted to be doing it. He was particularly obsessed with the Columbine school shootings and serial killers like Ted Bundy. So, yeah. There was a documentary on the Columbine shootings, and Trey watched it 50 fucking times. That's a lot. A lot. Trey could quite literally recall every single detail of the Columbine shootings and literally everything that happened. Trey had made a small side project for himself. In this project, he would rate, yes, I said rate. He would rate serial and spree killers on a scale of 1 to 10. Rating based on certain things like how many victims they had, how they killed their victims, how long it took them to get caught, what kind of weapons/guns they would use. Just not normal behavior at all. Literally not a normal fascination like you or I have. Brother was creepy with it. He would make notes of where exactly the criminals had went wrong in their plans. They went wrong by fucking killing people, but not only would he write about where they went wrong, he would also make notes on how they could have improved. He wrote a 12-page manifesto. I don't know, maybe he was inspired by the Unabomber there, but he would literally he would sit and point out all their faults. Trey wasn't satisfied with just the research part. It got way worse than that. Right about here is where his own plans to become a killer come about. Like I said, he was absolutely fascinated with the Columbine school shootings. Trey decided that he had wanted to do that himself, the school shooting part. So he started downloading satellite images of his old high school. He started basically planning how he was going to do it. His plan was to get his car, ram the school gates, take out as many kids as he possibly could with his car, and then get out with his rifle and just start taking out as many people as he could. But he quickly realized he couldn't bring himself to do that initially. Since he thought he couldn't bring himself to do it, he contemplated being a serial killer. But after reading the requirements to be a serial killer, he pretty quickly changed his mind. He apparently wasn't qualified to be one, since the cooldown period would have given him just way too much anxiety about being caught. At this point in time, Trey's just kind of lost and confused about what he's going to be doing. He was having a lot of dark thoughts and he didn't really know how to process them. The psychiatrist was clearly not fucking helping at all. So he thinks to himself, if I can't kill people, then I'll just target animals, which is fucked up. Neighbors and locals in the town said that at night Trey would go out prowling the neighborhoods. He would go out prowling in his car and he was seemingly tweaking hardcore on drugs while he was doing so. He didn't go for animals straight away. First, he would shoot at empty buildings, churches, libraries, his old school. He'd shoot the windows out of the buildings. But he quickly got bored of this. This is when he decided to turn to animals. There were lots of cows and horses in the area around Walla County. Trey thought that they would be the ideal targets. Trey later said to police in an interview that because he felt he wasn't able to kill people just yet, that's why he went for animals. To basically test himself, I think at least. He once said to police, quote, I could easily go into a pasture and shoot a cow. That's crazy. There were dead horses and cows showing up all over the county, and everyone was getting really, really confused on what the fuck was happening. Police had no clue who was doing it because Trey was being very, very cautious. He was picking up his bullet casings, taking them back home, crushing them in a wood vise. Then he would throw them in a metal can, then take that can, toss them in a bag with a bunch of other cans. So it just made it a shit ton harder to find. He also never went to the same hunting ground more than once. Remember that project he was working on about analyzing all those killers? You remember? Yeah, well, he also studied FBI procedures. FBI procedures. What? He knew that most of the time people are creatures of habit, often returning to the crime scene or going back to the same spot to commit a secondary crime. Not really sure how big Walla County is, but come on. Police must have been at least a little bit suspicious, man. How did they not realize it was the same person? Like what? But because Trey never got caught, it made him very arrogant. He didn't just go for horses and cows. Rumors spread that Trey was using his own animals for target practice. Things are not looking too good for Trey right now. It's currently late 2011. Trey has been out of school for a few years now. He was still living alone in his grandma's house, which was not doing him any fucking favors. Still abusing drugs and alcohol pretty hardcore. Trey's family relationship was going downhill pretty quickly. So much so that around Christmas in 2011, Trey told his friend he was planning on killing his father. There was a lot of tension between Trey and his father. Somewhere between Christmas, I don't fully know the timeline of when this happened, but somewhere between Christmas of 2011 and March of 2012, Trey shot his own kitten, which he did seem to be slightly affected by it, at least slightly. He had buried his kitten with a note in the same spot. It said, "Please forgive me," but it really didn't seem to stop him from escalating to, you know, bigger things. Now we're in March 2012. It's March the 13th. Trey had uploaded a video titled Mr. Anime's New Job.
Hey everybody, what's going on? It's Mr. Anime here. And well, I have some pretty good news. It's not, well, I have some kind of bad news, but it is good news. The good news is that I now found a full-time job in a department that I'm interested in, which is film.
Basically saying he had been headhunted or something by a filming company to come and work for them. He said that he would still be uploading to YouTube, but he would be a little bit more absent than he usually was. Well, that was all a fucking lie. That job quite literally never fucking existed. Trey was never fucking headhunted because there was no job. Maybe he wanted an excuse for his absence for when he went on his spree, you know? But I don't know. But that would be Trey's last ever YouTube video. Because a week later, on March the 19th, Trey is just at his grandma's house alone, minding his own business, doing his own thing, staying up incredibly late, like all night late, pretty much just binge drinking. His usual binge drinking routine would be to go out in his car and shoot at empty buildings or just animals, but something was different about this evening. He didn't want to do his usual thing. In the early hours of the morning, Trey showed up at his family's house fully fucking armed. And I mean, bro was armed to the fucking teeth. When he arrived at the house, his mother, father, and brother were all inside. Trey first called his mother Rhonda into the garage, saying that he had something that he wanted to show her in his car. When she came into the garage, he quickly shot her twice, killing her. Mark, Trey's brother, had heard the commotion, and I'm not really sure if he knew it was a gunshot or not, but he came downstairs to see what was happening. And while Mark was coming out, Trey had made his way into the house. When Mark saw Trey, he had said to him, "I don't know what you're doing, but it's loud." Trey didn't respond at all. All he did was shoot his brother twice. Unlike his mom, though, these wounds were not fatal, so he quickly escaped and ran to the bathroom, quickly locking the door behind him. All that commotion woke up Trey's father, though. He could hear him stirring up in the room. So Trey went into the bedroom, stood over his father while he was sleeping, shot him twice, and then left the room. He then proceeded to go back downstairs to where his brother was in the bathroom and shoot randomly into the door. He eventually did shoot the lock off, and he would push the door open to find his brother in the fetal position on the floor with blood absolutely everywhere. At this point, Trey thought, and I know this because he literally said it in a later interview, he thought, okay, well, I guess that got him. After that, Trey then went to each family member and shot each of them in the head. And apparently later on in an interview, he said that he did so because he didn't want any of his victims to suffer. Then just maybe don't do it in the first place. I don't know. Anyways, that's all I have for this video today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have a video that you would like me to follow, drop it down in the comments below. I hope you have an absolutely amazing rest of your day, night, whatever it is for you. If you want, you can like and subscribe. That's up to you. Do what you want. I'm not going to tell you to do it. Have an amazing rest of your day. Mwah.